the whole. There's never been a time that small, confined spaces did not make me uneasy. That overwhelming sense of impending doom, that comes from being trapped, abandoned, even forgotten. I'm not certain I'd classify this as claustrophobia per se. I mean, I do just fine as long as there's a window. Something I can look out of and see the world is still there, whether I'm taking part in it or not. You see, it comes in different levels of panic, such as when there are no windows. That's a whole new level. You're sitting there in, say, solitary confinement. You get a little slot for your tray of food. There's a little door in the door the guard can open and make sure you didn't go Houdini on him. And you imagine, you're in your cell, hour after hour after hour, just pleading, dying for human interaction. And he opens up that little trap door. The guard looks at you, makes sure you're there, doesn't even give you a hi. How are you doing? Just closes it and walks on. And that's what you were striving for. That little bit of human interaction was better than nothing. Because that next level is no slots, no trap door. Hell, maybe there's not even a locked door. No, sir. That's a whole nother ball game, where the walls feel like they'd be slowly closing in. And who's to say they're not? What about cases where you don't even want a window? Like if you're put inside a little cage and dropped in the middle of the ocean. Oh, no thank you for me. That would be like being trapped in one of those matriarcha dolls. I don't want to think that I could escape from my hell, only to find myself in another hell. But if you want to talk about terrifying, some say the French were better at that than anyone. They invented this thing called the oubliette. That was a standing cell they built under the dungeon. Now, I said under the dungeon. You imagine, you're in a place where they have the rack, the Iron Maiden, thumb screws, things to, like iron things to make you be on fire. And there were some criminals, or hell, just people they didn't like, that this was too good for. They had to step it up. Terrifying people. So, there's the oubliette. And it's underground. Just a hole with like a little bar across it so you can't get out. And they shove you in there with only enough room to stand. You can't sit. You can't squat. You can't lay down. You'd be forced to stand for hours, days, weeks on end. You don't get out to go to the bathroom. You just go on yourself. Oh, some people were in those things until they died. Horrifying. But for me, the absolute worst is still being underground. And I don't mean where you have that little light at the top to see out of. I mean the classic buried alive. The air slowly cutting off. No ability to stand up. No ability to sit up. And there There are countless stories of people escaping these predicaments. However, they aren't based in reality. That's just movie magic. No, you find yourself in this situation, you're dead. And there isn't a damn thing you can do about it. I almost forgot, though. I almost forgot. There's a one worse. The cave crawlers. You ever seen one of those videos? People willingly, that's right, willingly, will explore a cave with caverns and tunnels so tight they gotta get down on their bellies, with their arms stretched out above their heads or trapped at their sides, and shimmy their way in there. Oh, that gives me the heebie-jeebies. A mountain of rock surrounding you on all sides. And that little cavern, it can take a downslope. And if you get stuck, how are you getting out? I mean, are they going to call someone who's going to come in and magically make the mountain disappear? No. You're just screwed. So, needless to say, I avoided these places. Now, of course, there were a lot of things I avoided in life. But times are different now, aren't they? Yes, ever since the power went out, people have been acting a lot different. Now, in case you've been camping or in a coma for the last 6 months, there's been no power. No one knows what happened to it. There's nothing but speculation out there. Though it is funny that there's always that certain someone that claims to know something no one else does. And this isn't like you're talking to like one of the Kingsmen or one of a government person or a contractor. This is typically like your neighbor or a guy at work that wants to pretend like he's special and tell you all these tall tales. Everyone knows he's full of it, though. Or at least I hope they do. Now, not me, though. I'm going to be honest. Far as I can tell, the power is out for all of Killian. And for all I know, the entire world. Either way, it is widespread enough that no help has come. They haven't made any announcements. The Crown hasn't done anything to aid us commoners. And I walked by the castle. The guards are still there. They're just looking out for numero uno now. Now, like most, it took me a while to accept that the power wasn't going to come back. That my life was going to need to change if I wanted to survive. Many formed groups to protect and aid one another. But truth be told, I never liked people much. See, in my previous life, I avoided people as much as I could. I was somewhat of a recluse when I wasn't at work. Much as people infuriated me, I never did anything about it. Now, I wouldn't say I'm a coward. It's just that I have a fear of confined spaces. I certainly didn't relish in the thought of being locked inside a jail cell. That makes me wonder, what do you think happened to the prisoners? Do you think they're still locked up? Or do you think the guards were kind enough to open the doors and let them go? Oh, could they have let them go? I mean, everything runs on electronics now. Perhaps when that power shut down, those cells were locked for good. I bet you, if we made our way to Ashby Prison right now, there would be a hell of a stench. So, back to the story though. I go out on my own. Eventually, I find the interstate. And I'm walking under the overpass when I come upon this door. Now, I don't think that something built into overpasses is normal. I mean, I can't imagine. Now, it has to be rare. But apparently, they do exist. So I go in. And the weather's getting frightful, and I gotta do something for shelter. Now, the only light that's gonna come into this place is gonna penetrate from that doorway. And with the weather so bad, it didn't take me long to need my flashlight. Now, I felt like my very soul was quivering with fear. I still didn't like confined spaces, and I wanted to leave this place as soon as I stepped inside. But unfortunately for me, there was that terrible storm. I needed to stay warm and dry. Common sense told me that one of those things we took for granted is the common cold. You see, you catch a common cold in the modern city, no big deal. Maybe you take a day or two off work, drive by the nearest drugstore, and stay in bed for a while. It's a little different in the postmodern city, however. You get sick now, you could easily die. Something as simple as the common cold could do some serious damage. Now, with no other choice, I mustered up my courage. I faced my greatest fear. I explored that tunnel system, hardly able to hold the flashlight still, and it nearly cost me my life. I'm walking down the halls, foot stepping on the solid ground, step after step after step, until there was no ground. In my panic, I pushed off my back leg. I leapt forward. And I sprawled out across the ground, scraping the hell out of my arms and knees. Now, come to think of it, I am awfully lucky I didn't get infected from that. Yeah, imagine if I had, we wouldn't be speaking right now. So, I focused the flashlight on the floor. I want to see what caused my fall. And there it was, this hole in the floor, about 4 feet wide. I dared to look inside. It went down about 12 feet. Nothing but a pipe and a puddle of water at the bottom. I crawl away from this hole, hugging my knees, contemplating how close I was to living one of my worst nightmares. I dared not venture any further into the tunnel. There had been enough excitement for one day, and I made my way back to the exit and set up camp right there. Now, this wasn't the best time for me. I was down to 2 bottles of water. I had finished the last of my food a couple of nights before. I was never a survivalist. The city is where my heart always laid. It never occurred to me that I should have some basic survival skills. I figured as long as there was money in the bank, I would be okay. I awoke sometime later with a terrible stomachache. It was difficult just to walk back to the door. I had so little energy that every step was like walking through mud. Now, there's no food in the tunnel, so I knew it was time to leave. But I'm not certain why I thought I was going to find a pantry out into the streets. But, much to my surprise, there was food waiting for me when I opened the door. Oh, sure. It wasn't all gift wrapped or set out on a table for me. Some work was required. But it was there nevertheless. Just a dozen yards from the overpass, this man was walking with a large pack. Now, he didn't look tired. He appeared to be well fed. He was even smiling. My goodness, I had been saved. My starving stomach reminded me that this gentleman had no intention of just giving me his food. My logic quickly searched for a way to convince him to share. And that's when I had an idea. I stepped back into the darkness, and I cried out, "Help me! Oh, help! Please, somebody help!" Turning, scrambling deeper into the tunnel, I cried out again. Once I was in position, I laid down on the ground. I pointed my flashlight at myself so it'd be easy for him to find me. And I held my knee like I had fallen. And his voice, it was like hearing angels sing. Or perhaps it was more like hearing the dinner bell ring in one of those old ranch shows. "Hello? Back here? Please help," I said. I heard the dirt being kicked up by his feet and saw his own flashlight moving frantically. Took a great deal of effort to remove the smile from my face. "I think it's my leg," I said, as his flashlight came across me. Upon seeing that I was no threat, the man charged forward faster. One moment he's there, panting heavily and telling me everything's gonna be okay. And the next minute he's gone. There was this loud snapping, followed by the screams of my guest. I leaned into the hole and held my flashlight on him. His face was contorted, withered with pain. He's screaming about his broken legs. I tell him, "I can't reach you. It's too far down." He asks me if I have rope. Hasn't occurred to this dope that I put him in this hole. I tell him I have no rope. I ask him what his name is. He tells me his name is John. Then he attempted to reach further, and there was a pop before the tunnel was once again filled with his screams. Oh, he sobbed about how awful it was, how he couldn't take the pressure off of them. He was begging me to think of something. And I had to, because I needed that pack that was on his back. I told him, "Throw me your bag. I can pull you up by that." I don't know if he was too desperate to think logically. It was easily a tight fit, but he managed to push the bag up. And as soon as I started pulling, I realized I might have made a mistake. I didn't have the energy to fight this man. Pulling him out of that hole was the last thing I wanted to do. Now, John, he was smart. He starts using one arm against the wall to help. I had to think quickly. I didn't want to fight him. He's twice my size. I had no doubt he could pummel me to death, even with broken legs. Now, he was almost to the top of the hole, and I let go of the bag. I reached out quickly, grabbing the bag as John's legs slammed back into the ground. In a world of pain, he had forgotten all about the bag. I pulled it out of the hole, and I was pleased to find that John had been well stocked. His screams and desperate pleas were really starting to ruin my appetite, though. So I made my way back to the door before eating. I think eventually he realized I wasn't coming back for him. He started cursing my name. And that was fine by me, just as long as I continued to live. He stopped crying and cursing at me a few days later. And I sat there watching the underpass. Turns out the interstate is a popular means of travel, even after the power's gone. I mean, everyone's walking these days, but on average, I'd say I see someone new walk by every 2 or 3 days. Now, as I'm sure you figured out by now, John's supplies, plentiful as it was not endless. I was gonna need to restock. And the plan worked out so well the first time, I saw no reason not to go with it again. Now, those are some nasty things you've been calling me. But I guess if it makes you feel a little better, I can take it. People never did have very nice things to say about me anyway. I do want to make one apology, though. As much as I racked my brain, I couldn't figure out how to pull John out of that hole. I'm certain that being trapped in that hole is far worse when you're stuck on top of a rotting corpse. So for that, I do apologize. I do hope you take some solace in knowing that, thanks to you, I will go on living another week or two. No? Yes, I suspected that wouldn't be the case. It may be difficult for you to appreciate this, given your position and all. But I am rather proud that I learned to face my fears.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for checking out The Hole today. One of my darker stories, but I wanted to take a little bit of a break from The Watcher, even though this is kind of in the same universe with the power being out in the end of the world, so to speak. But a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing this story, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. My name, by the way, is JB Joyner. I'm the guy who writes and does the voice acting for these stories. And like I said, I hope you guys are loving them so far. I love doing them, and I'm going to be bringing you more. But I love the Watcher series. I just wanted to take a little bit of a break from it and get something else out or do another story. And, hey, I had a lot of fun with it. I hope you did as well. But now that that's over with, I want to tell you guys about Ash. Ash is going to be my second novel. It's currently going through editing, and we are hoping to have it out by the summer. I'm just going to give you guys a synopsis real quick. Ash begins to see ghosts, triggering a prophecy that brings forth the Harbinger of Souls. The two engage in a battle over the teenager's sanity that could end the gatekeeper's corruption. Will Ash rise to fulfill her destiny? Or will the gatekeeper deliver her into a broken world where reality is nothing but a fading memory? That's Ash. Very fun story. This one's actually more a young adult horror novel. So it's toned down a little bit. It's not as scary as like some of the stuff I kind of give to some of my adult viewers, but trust me, it's going to be fun for all ages. Your kids will love it. You will love it. It's going to be a blast. We do need marketing funds though, because unfortunately, unless you can advertise, it's going to be really hard to be successful as an author. It's really hard to get book sales if you don't get either advertising or a lot of word of mouth out there. So hopefully we can do both with this right here. So I'm going to tell you guys about the rewards you can get. There's going to be a link to the GoFundMe down in the description. Please do check that out. But I want to give back to those that are donating to help us out with it. So basically $25 If you donate $25, you're going to get a free digital version of Ash. So that's something you can read on your Kindle, whatever e-reader you have. You'll get a free copy just for donating the $25. Those of you that donate $50, you're going to actually get a free autographed paperback copy of the novel when it comes out. Like I said, this is going to be should be before the summer. So we're going through editing, so I don't have an exact release date just yet, but we're getting very close to it. And of course, this is going to be for just US, Canada, and Mexico. Unfortunately, the shipping cost to go overseas it's far more than I can actually afford at the moment. For $75, though, you would get a free autographed copy of the hardback copy of the book. um, and then for $100, you actually get a personal call from me saying thank you for all of your donations and for your help and for believing in this, because that's really what we need, is people that believe and can spread the word and will love this project as much as I've loved it. And that's really what we're looking to do. Also, I don't really have like an animation for it, but anybody who happens to donate $1,000 or more will actually get themselves on the dedication page for the book. I don't anticipate anybody donating $1,000, and that's fine. Basically, just asking you guys, donate what you can. Everything helps, and if you happen to be somebody who's really, really rich and can afford to just throw away $1,000 on somebody like me, and maybe I don't want to say throw away, who believes in what I'm doing here, and you actually have $1,000 you want to give away, hey, get in contact with me. Like, we can definitely talk about more, and I would be more than happy to do that for you. All right, guys, thank you so much for loving this. I can't wait to bring you more stories. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day.